based on where you are and where you're playing. Yeah,
right.
Even off this last Super Bowl, it's still a bigger market, you'd say.
Oh yeah, New York is the biggest
Atlanta?
market.
Yeah.
There will never be a bigger sports market than New York City, except maybe London. But
in a different way.
I think even New York City still got London. But anyways, I'm not. If I am, what is it? Steve Tisch, the one that makes those decisions.
Yeah.
If I'm Steve Tisch and he comes to me and is like, I want to be the highest paid player in the NFL, I laugh at him. I really do.
Well,
because, first of all, your production during the regular season has been great, but where have you been during the playoffs?
No,
you
absolutely.
were terrible.
That's something that needs to be discussed and that needs to be figured out. The good news is Odell Beckham's still under contract. We can see another year of Odell Beckham. Does he quit it with his nonsense? If he goes the whole year without his nonsense, still puts up great numbers, and has the opportunity and does show up in the playoffs, we might be having an entirely different conversation. But at the end of the day, we will not be sitting here. I can guarantee it to you, whether it's this year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 or 5. We will never be sitting here having a conversation about Odell Beckham being the highest paid player in the NFL. It's never going to happen.
No, and nor should it, because A, he's a wide receiver, and B, you talked about if he goes an entire season without the issues. I guarantee he won't, because he's got 2 games against Josh Norman.
Well, he's an emotional person. And, well, the other thing is Josh Norman's a prick. If you listen to the way that he talks and conducts himself...
Oh, of course. I'm not saying he's in the right.
He's gotten into fights with Cam Newton before, and they were on the same team, for God's sake.
He's Cortland Finnegan 2.0. Super talented.
Yeah. And just arrogant as all get up. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Although I do look forward to those matchups every year. I love when those two go against each other. Mainly because I hate Josh Norman.
I want to see...
Josh Norman is he's the equivalent to Johnny Manziel in my book.
No.
Oh, absolutely.
No.
Yes. He is his polar opposite, in my opinion. Just has talent. He plays defense.
Okay. Yeah, but
as far as a person,
as a fan of the NFL and someone who just likes seeing good football, I want to see his career take the same arc that Des Bryant's did. Des Bryant started with the off the field issues. You know, he punched his mom.
He had a lot of domestic issues with his mom. Yeah. He had problems with his finances, bad investments.
Just running his mouth. Nothing.
Being extravagant, spending hundreds of $1,000s at dinners and stuff like that.
Nothing honorable for his first 2 years. Making excuses for why he wasn't performing well.
Left the Packers game. Remember that, too? He just walked off the field.
Wait, the one the year before? 2 years ago or last year?
Yeah, wasn't that was it a playoff game? It wasn't a playoff game, was it? It was like week 16 or week 17.
There was a time where Dez has walked off the field multiple times before the end of the game.
I'm not even mad at that. I don't think that's...
Right, but I mean, if the game's not over, you should still be there.
I think what you're talking about against the Packers was in the playoffs when he was robbed of that catch.
Well, no, the catch was one thing. That's completely justifiable. In my opinion, I'd be like, this is BS. This whole thing I'm doing under protest. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. But when he walked off the field during regular season games in Dallas... and just left the field because of arguments he was having with Romo. Because he was having arguments with Romo. He was screaming.
Oh, not last year. The year before when they were really bad.
Well, yeah, because he was screaming at, God, who was your ginger coach?
Oh, Jason Garrett.
Garrett. He screamed at him, and then he'd leave. And that's the kind of thing that you're talking about. If he can turn it around and maybe mature a little, like Dez has, because Dez has been...
He's gone from a D to a B+.
He is a pretty stand-up guy, especially, again, this is your team of Cowboys where there's always something going on in Jerry's world. But he's become one of the focal points of how you probably should turn it around and act in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, look at all the charity things he's been doing lately. Closing down restaurants so that he can have like a barbecue and kickball game for a bunch of kids.
Yeah, that's great. And
he's great for the state of Texas.
I hope Odell follows the same trajectory too, in my opinion. I hope he does.
As someone who wants to see him do well, despite the fact that he's a dirty, rotten giant, I hope so too.
The same thing goes for... How do you think I feel? I want to root for Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah.
I do. But I have a very hard time doing such a thing.
But-
Thank God I have him in a dynasty fantasy league. I got him his first year. I don't ever have to give him up.
Let me
You know what else I have? Carr.
Nice. Let me ask you this question. Listening to an ESPN radio show that involves Alan Hahn,
And
Rick DiPietro, and
prominent
Chris
guys
Canty.
in the New York City area.
Yeah, Alan Hahn, Rick DiPietro, and Chris Canty. Someone had brought up the idea, because Odell Beckham doesn't seem like he's maturing. While he's a great talent, there are other players at other positions who are the equal to him. So they brought up, what do you think about this trade? Going to the Rams saying, we will trade you Odell Beckham Jr. for Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald right now is possibly the best defensive player, maybe outside Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa.
Maybe. I don't know, because Odell is such a weapon. And the thing is, Odell has I wouldn't do it. I like Aaron Donald, but I wouldn't do it.
I think I would, because seeing what the Giants have at wide receiver right now, it's kind of like, everyone talks about how great it is. It's kind of sad.
Well,
You got
Marshall
Odell
also
Beckham.
puts up his best numbers in his first year with the team. We don't know how long Marshall's got left in the tank. He can't have much in there.
I think he said after these 2 years, he's done.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard is a young talent that doesn't need the pressure of New York. He will get better in time. He seems like a more quiet and reserved guy. Odell just needs to mature, because they've said it before. Players gravitate towards him in general. He has an aura about him in the locker room. He needs to learn more as far as what it's going to be needed to be a leader, because regardless of the team he goes on, he's going to have to learn to do that.
The Giants should have picked up Lucky Whitehead. They really should have. And here's why I say that.
Whatever. He's in the same building. Who cares?
Here's why I say that. Because after Eli's done in these next 2 years, they're going to rely on Davis Webb, who's going to rely on those small slot receivers.
Yeah, and that's something to worry about later down the line. Right now, New York wants to win now, and the pressure is on more than ever in the NFC East.
Well, I think one thing that's really, really good is the Giants seem to have identified who their backup quarterback, or who's going to replace
Yes, and
him
I'm all
as
for
Davis
that.
Webb.
Let him have the couple of years under Eli to learn this.
It seems like they're not only setting up to win now, but they're setting up to win in the future.
And I agree with that now. But now the focus needs to be on now. You can nurture this kid and worry about things that he's going to need late a little bit further down the line when you see how free agency and drafts work out. You don't know. I can tell you right now as a Giants fan, they'll blow the draft. They always do. So
I mean, they got Odell Beckham.
that was
A bright spot.
Listen, out of all their draft picks in the last 5 years, that's like one of like 6.
At least there was one bullet in the chamber, right?
Yeah, well, the rest of them are dry
But
or wet, and they're not going to fire.
But going to another player who is having contract disputes. Actually, let's talk. We mentioned Aaron Donald. Let's talk about him for a second. Going into this season, Aaron Donald and Odell Beckham Jr. were part of the same draft class. Aaron Donald did not report to training camp because he wants a new contract.
But this is not surprising to me, because the Chargers have always been extremely fickle with money. And they always seem to give players a hard time. Look at what happened last year with Joey Bosa. Do you think that's the
Rams.
Chargers.
Yeah.
That's the Chargers. The Rams, well, I don't know what the Rams' decision is in this scenario. I don't know, like, why would you not want to spend the money on him?
Well, the reason why I think the Beckham trade makes sense is because he's going to help Jared Goff.
I could see why it would be beneficial
For both teams.
In both teams because of the needs necessary.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't know why the Rams haven't signed Donald. I mean, what are you worried about signing? Gurley? Yeah, sure, I can understand that, but you can forget about Tavon Austin. You should actually take his contract back. He owes you money.
Yeah.
I would have made sure his contract was stipulated on his performance, because I would have been like, listen, I'm betting on you failing.
Yeah.
Okay? Because Tavon Austin has done nothing for me to think that he warrants the amount of money he's making, which is ungodly.
Well, he's a decent setup guy. He just can't get it done.
Yeah, that's adorable, but that doesn't help in this league.
Right. But
I mean, cool uniform doesn't mean you're going to win.
But what do you think is making or keeping Odell Beckham from pulling the Aaron Donald and sitting out camp and sitting out and until he gets a new contract? I know exactly what it is.
I think it's part of the fact that it's his brand. He needs to be out there. He needs to be present because he's not just he has an advantage over Donald that Donald doesn't have. He is a marketable person arguably, yeah. Well,
that's exactly it. His Nike endorsement is in his contract. He has to perform to get the money,
and that's fine.
He has to be on the field.
But it's also the most marketable city in the world. You've got to be there. And another thing is, it may just be. I feel like Odell Beckham, a lot of his emotion that you see on the sidelines and everything is derived from his desire to compete. I think he wants to be on the field.
Oh yeah, of course. He definitely.
I think the Giants probably. I'm sure the conversation's been had that Odell's like, "Yo, let me play safety," and they're like, no."
Yeah. Nope. Sorry.
They're like, "Oh, 4th down Hail Mary try. Guess what? Your dream came true.
Yeah.
Go get him, champ."
And then he's the one that blows it.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
No, knowing him, he'd probably intercept it and then try and take it back to the house and end up fumbling it.
Then it gets returned for a touchdown.
That I could see happen.
But so Aaron Donald sitting out doesn't surprise me one bit because he
deserves that money. The way that they gave money to Tavon Austin recently, the way they've been giving money in LA. Listen, you want to shore up a defensive star and potentially captain and leader on that defense?
He's only been in the league 3 years, but like every season, seeing him, I've thought this guy looks like a Hall of Famer.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know what it's baffling to me the hesitation that LA seems to have with him.
And it's really scary because you've seen this with the Jets with Sheldon Richardson and what's his name?
Muhammad Wilkerson.
Yeah, Mo Wilkerson. They were also a former Rookie of the Year.
Right.
Is now untradeable because the Jets have ruined him.
Yeah. The Jets seem to ruin everything they touch.
Dan O'Shea. Yeah, but I don't get it. The Aaron Donald sitting out, I get. Yeah. Except that
I understand his side of it. I don't understand LA's.
Well, I mean the one problem I have with sitting for a contract like that, I feel like that sends a message to the rest of the league like, hey, you better pay me or I'm not going to play.
I mean, it kind of does, but in the same sense, it's you clearly aren't appreciating me, and if you don't want to have this conversation, try and work this out, then I'll show up and do what I have to do when I have to do it, but I'm not going to bend my back. I'm not going to break my back to go through a training camp that quite frankly, in his case, probably doesn't even matter. Come Sundays when he plays, he's probably going to be just fine.
He plays in a base 4-3.
And he doesn't... What does he need? He doesn't... The thing is, for him, he does not need to be there. He doesn't. He's not going to get better by being there.
Your job is the quarterback. If you're a D lineman, your job is the quarterback.
And Donald is better than almost everyone else in the league at his position.
Oh, I think if you're going position by position, the only player that you can argue is better at their position is Tom Brady. It's the only argument that I see.
I could have that argument with you, but I choose not to.
Well, no, I don't think. Yeah, we'll get into get into the Patriots at another time. You mentioned disrespect. Do you know who else is being disrespected? Le'Veon Bell.
I agree with you there. I understand Pittsburgh's point because it's hard to give that much money to a running back who we've already talked about on the show having the shortest shelf life of most players. Now, that being said, I get Le'Veon Bell's point. What doesn't he do for you?
Throw the ball, that's it.
Yeah, but he does everything else. And a player that
he tests the marijuana to make sure it's quality.
Yeah, listen.